Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a very interesting show for you. Oh, yeah, YouTube reactions to the NCAA decision about the Vols. There's been a ton of reactions out there on YouTube all about the NCAA decision, the 28 scholarships, no bowl ban, $8 million fine. Whoa, that was some lightning. Man, we got a big old storm getting ready to happen. But I've got everything on battery backup, so this shouldn't creak me. Those batteries have saved me many, many times. You spend 2 or 3 hours editing a video, that would be horrible to lose all that work. So anyway, hopefully I can continue this. But there are some very interesting reactions, and I'm going to show you several, some from professionals, some from amateurs like myself. Some are upset, some are okay with it. The best response I'm going to save for the last, and it's actually by Brent Hubbs. And he's a guy that has spent a ton of time covering this. I mean, he really put in the shoe leather, including being up in Cincinnati, Ohio for 2 days and trying to get reactions out of people that can only say no comment. So I'm going to save him for last because that's the prestige spot. Anyway, let's get into this.
But I also think that what happened with Tennessee here, for the NCAA at least, I think the ruling that was made is fairly appropriate. Like 200 infractions, over 200 infractions, making cash payments to players and their families, like, yeah, you probably do have to pay something. There probably should be some sort of discipline here. And $8 million, it's a lot of money. You're saying, well, JD, Tennessee's got a lot of money in their own pocket. Yeah, I hear you, but still $8 million is $8 million. That's going to hurt the wallet just a little bit. But the thing that I'm grateful for Tennessee in this situation and for Josh Heupel, I love that there is no bowl ban for Tennessee, and here's why. If you were to give Tennessee a postseason ban, let's just say they hand them the 2-year entree of no bowl, okay?
Okay.
Who would that punish? Who would we really be hamstringing here? Yeah, it hurts Tennessee, I'm sure, but who would it impact most directly? It would impact Josh Heupel. You would be punishing Josh Heupel for something that Jeremy Pruitt did. And Jeremy Pruitt's already gotten fired. Jeremy Pruitt's already got his own disciplines. But you're punishing Josh Heupel for something that happened before he even got there. How backwards is that?
Yeah, and that's what most of the analysts seem to be going with. They seem to be fine with it. You know, punishing people that had nothing to do with the infractions seems ridiculous to me. And let's realize UT cooperated to no end on this. As soon as the whistleblower called the university and explained, hey, they're doing these things, they jumped into action and they investigated. And they gathered up all the evidence.
Got the evidence! Put the evidence in the car! Put the evidence in the car!
Contacted NCAA, sent them all the evidence, let them know what they were doing. I mean, they really took care of business. And they fired all the coaches that were involved in this, and everybody involved has been removed. They didn't hesitate. As soon as they found out, they acted. That's kind of hard to beat, especially when you literally gathered all the evidence yourself. The NCAA, all they had to do was Zoom calls. This was during the pandemic. They just did Zoom calls. And here it was handed over to them. They didn't have to investigate themselves hardly. So anyway, I think that's where most of the professionals are on this. And we're going to get into some amateur YouTubers like myself, you know, some regular guys. And this first guy, he's not happy, okay? He wanted the Vols to be punished. And I'll actually show you that this was from a few months ago.
Talking about Tennessee facing the, having to kind of pay the piper, I guess, for the whole Jeremy Pruitt McDonald bag garbage that's happened. And, the vast majority of Tennessee fans feel like they shouldn't have to answer the NCAA because they have already self-imposed things upon themselves. We reduced our scholarships. We did this, we did that. It doesn't matter. You still should be punished for having a coach on your payroll, having a coaching staff on your payroll, having a coaching staff, a coach's wife on your payroll, who was stuffing McDonald's bags with money and handing it out to recruits.
Okay, so yeah, Carolina wanted punishment to be handed down. He wanted bowl bans. He wanted a large number of scholarships, et cetera. So that was his opinion. Needless to say, he wasn't happy with this decision, but he decided to come out with a little bit different video, and you'll probably pick up on it pretty quickly.
I've seen, several different types of reactions. Of course, the Tennessee people are happy that they didn't get a bowl ban, and then some other fan bases are upset because they did not get a bowl ban. What he's been able to do with the punishment that they imposed on themselves, or in spite of that punishment, is nothing short of miraculous. What a man. More than what a man, what a coach. What a game manager. What a program manager. It's unlike anything I've ever seen.
Oh.
And everybody thinks, well, they're just going to fall off the map because Hendon Hooker's not there and Jalen Hyatt's not there. He has formulated a system. This guy, he's smart. I mean, man, he's smart. I swear to God, he was built in a laboratory. He wasn't conceived. He was built in a laboratory. It's insert player A here, insert player B here. They're going to move the ball, y'all. They're going to score a bunch of points. Joints. This team probably win a national championship in the next couple of years. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They probably are. When we go to the 12-team playoff, it doesn't matter because they're going to be the number one team going into the thing. They're going to run through. I think they probably go 12-0 this year, quite honestly, just because, after the backlash from this little punishment, they're going to go out there and have a little bit of a measure of revenge. I think they're going to tear a few teams up. I think they're going to hand Georgia a loss because, everybody's saying it already that going up there and playing is going to be dangerous. I think they're doing that. They'll probably beat my Gamecocks about 80-10. I'd say that's probably a pretty fair prediction for score there. Whatever the line is, take Tennessee in the points.
For some reason, I don't think he's genuine in his statement. I sense a little bit of sarcasm. Anyway, I thought that was a pretty interesting response. Now, this next guy, I'm going to say this name, and when I do, this is an opportunity for some of you to just go ahead and either skip this part or click off or whatever, because this guy upsets, I know, a pretty good chunk of people. He has a tendency to offend, but I do have to say he does understand football really well. He's the guy with the gimmick. He's actually got two different versions. He's got the guy that talks about football, then he's got the guy that talks smack. But anyway, it's Uncle Lou. And don't say it 3 times in a row or he'll appear. He's like Beetlejuice. Anyway, let's see what the Lou Meister has to say. And he actually made a pretty good point that I think the Alabama fans are going to understand really well.
It's just finally over. It's no longer hanging over the program's head, right? This is no longer something that maybe can be used to negatively recruit against Tennessee. And let's face it, recruiting is a cutthroat business, right? So if you're a school that's competing to get a kid and Tennessee is also competing to get that kid, of course you're going to tell that kid, look, if you go to Tennessee, you may end up with a postseason bowl ban. Well, that they can no longer say that. So I think the best thing to come out of this for Tennessee is just that it's over, right? But what's the Alabama man saying now about Kevin Steele and Jeremy Pruitt? Let's go back in time to last season. Alabama, of course, crying because they don't like their defensive coordinator, which I don't blame you. Look, you give up half 100 to Tennessee, you got issues. You got some serious problems. So they all, they can't blame Nick Saban because they lick his boots. So they blame the defensive coordinator to get rid of him. And then they bring in this dinosaur, Kevin Steele. The guy's 90-something years old, right? This Kevin Steele. The guy's been coaching longer than I've been alive. And like I said, I'm 45. They bring him in. And what does the Alabama fan tell you? Temporary, Lou. This is temporary, Lou. Nick Saban's bringing Jeremy Pruitt back to the fold. Jeremy Pruitt is going to be the next Alabama defensive coordinator. Kevin Steele is just a one-year deal. It's just a stopgap to get us from point A to point B. He'll be gone. We're bringing in Jeremy Pruitt, and he's a defensive mastermind, woo. Which I agree with. Jeremy Pruitt's a defensive mind. I mean, look, there are lots of head coaches who have fallen on their face. Doesn't mean they're not good at what they did before. And the Alabama man had it all mapped out, didn't they? We're going to get rid of Pete Golding. He's the problem. We're going to run him out of town. Can't get Pruitt right now. Can't get him right now because the NCAA is still investigating what went on at Tennessee. But as soon as that wraps up, Lou, we're bringing in Jeremy Pruitt, and guess what? Alabama's defense is going to return to glory.
Yeah, Alabama definitely had plans of bringing Jeremy Pruitt back to their heyday as far as their defense is concerned. And, of course, they fired their offense and defensive coordinators last year because they lost 2 games, which is, as I've said, is heresy down there in Alabama land. So they're probably upset with this whole situation because Jeremy getting the 6 years, there's no way. Nick Saban's not going to be coaching for 6 more years. So that dream is pretty much gone. And Jeremy Pruitt didn't cooperate. Look, he fought the whole way through, and he got hammered. That's just kind of the way that it is. Had Tennessee done that, had Tennessee circled the wagons and been hard to deal with, they would have got hammered. But, they chose to go a different route. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting to see what various YouTubers, and again, I saved this last spot for Brent Hubbs, and he was on 3, and he got a very interesting question, and he gave a great answer to it. And I think it's probably the most pertinent response to the whole situation.
Attorneys to handle this case. It was a $13 million buyout for Jeremy Pruitt if they just bought him out. They ended up firing him for cause. And that's the part I'm interested in, because it feels like it's a legitimate debate of should you have just fired him and paid him off, and maybe there's not a motivated whistleblower or your own law firm doing this investigation, or do it for cause, and you may end up paying the same amount of money, but then it's all over.
And it's a great question. And for the financial people, it will be a debate that carries on for however long you want to carry it on for. Here's where I come down on this, because I've been asked this question. I've thought about it a lot since, when you're sitting in Cincinnati for 2 days at a hearing, you have a lot to think about when you're sitting in the lobby watching people walk by, trying to read their faces. What does it mean? But here's the thing. So you have someone who didn't go to the athletics director. They went to the chancellor in an email and said the following is going on in your athletics department and your football program. If you just ignore that person doesn't go to the NCAA, right? They don't go to the president.
Right, and that becomes
then all
a huge
of a sudden
problem
the chancellor's out of a job. Well, now you've got lack of institutional control, because you have a cover up at the highest university level, at the chancellor level. Dondi Plowman, in a brief period of time, had a decision she had to make. As a leader, you're caught in those crossroads. What decisions are you going to make? Northwestern had a really hard time last weekend at that crossroads deciding what to make, right? They went left, and then they went U-turn, came back, and made a right turn at the 4-way stop and decided what they were going to do. She said from the get-go, this is what we're doing. We're cleaning house. We are ridding everybody of this. We are starting over. My contention is for Tennessee in 30 months to be free and clear of that entire tenure of Jeremy Pruitt and all those people, okay, to be at 70,000 plus season ticket sales, to have won the Orange Bowl, to have a coach that's given you an identity that you think can take you to, quote, the championship level, was it worth $8 million or even $10 million? Was that worth it to you? My answer to that would be yes. I think that Tennessee is in a much better place now than they were when they fired Jeremy Pruitt 30 months ago. Did it cost them a lot of money? Yes. Dondi Plowman had a decision to make, the chancellor. Her decision that she made was to protect the University of Tennessee and to protect the current student athletes of that department, of that program. She chose to go that route aggressively, I might add.
Yeah.
How many chancellors handy at a press conference go, I'm appalled at the number of violations and to the degree of cover-up. The point being, she aggressively said they cheated, and they cheated in a bad, bad way. And I'm mad, and I'm taking everybody out. I walked out of that press conference, Andy, going, who is this woman, and what is she doing? Like, nobody does that at a press conference. But she felt the need to do it. She aggressively did it, cleaned house, and through a lot of money, a lot of heartache, and a long period of time, they're standing on the other side with what I think is probably the best case scenario for them.
It definitely feels like the best case scenario for Tennessee. It's obviously not for Jeremy Pruitt.
I just feel like that's a really good point, because imagine had she not taken action. Not only would you have that whistleblower out there that could any time pop up, I mean, that's an impossible situation. And that whistleblower is going to keep talking. They could have gone to the NCAA. I mean, it's just, that was the ideal response. So she did the right thing, and we're on the other end of it. Uncle Lou, and I've only mentioned him twice. If I do it third time, it wouldn't be good. But anyway, he mentioned the fact that no longer can anybody use this against us in recruiting. It's done. We got 2 scholarships for the next 5 years each year, and that's it. We're done. And 2 scholarships is not going to change that much, especially with transfer portal, NIL. You don't have to stick with players that aren't working out. Players that aren't working out don't have to stick with you. So it's not quite as big a deal with NIL and everything else. So I feel really good about the situation, and I think it was handled properly. But I thought it would be very interesting to see all the various reactions from different YouTubers, because I just thought it would be interesting, and I enjoyed it. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the Vols and the SEC and all this other stuff. If you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just boom, hit that little button. Costs you nothing. Helps me out. I would appreciate it. And right over here's the most recent video. Be sure to check that out. YouTube thinks you'll love it. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.